To the 100th anniversary of Weiner Wellness Week. I am delighted to be here. My name is Mike Gallagher. I've been to every single one of these 100 Weiner Weeks. So not many people can say that for sure. Obviously, great gratitude to Dr. Weiner. His legacy still passes on with Nutritional Frontiers, with the clinic here. We're always trying to improve. But we want to thank you for supporting us through the years. So we have a fabulous event going on all week long. We have free samples, free food, a swag bag, and of course these talks, right? We're here to educate. So again, for those who don't know me, my name is Mike Gallagher. I'm a certified lifestyle educator. I've been in the industry for almost 30 years. I'm here during these events to help you in any way, shape, or form. Any type of questions you might have, okay? Any type of conditions. There aren't too many that I haven't heard in 30 years. And again, a lot of the information I have is from Dr. Weiner, passing on to myself and then other practitioners that I work with in the area as well, okay? So I thought it would be a great way to start this talk using one of our original formulas that we've had all these years, okay? One of the original ones from almost 14 years ago that Nutritional Frontiers has been here. And again, it's one of my favorite, if not my favorite ingredient or supplement that I've ever studied in those 30 years, okay? Called DMG, dimethylglycine. Okay, most people have never heard of it. There's doctors that I work with who went to 4-year naturopathic schools, studied supplements every single day for 4 years straight, never heard of this ingredient. Okay, so don't be, don't feel like, don't feel like you're being left out here if you never have. But there's actually tremendous research on it. It had 3 US patents on it. A lot of the research is written by Dr. Kendall, who is a PhD molecular biochemist. He spent his entire lifetime researching DMG, and we're going to share with you some highlights from his research here with this formula, and then over the years how we've taken DMG and then we add other things to them depending on the type of condition, and then create different formulas to help you even more. Okay, but DMG, to really truly understand Nutritional Frontiers, is you truly have to understand dimethylglycine, okay? Because we use it in over 30 different formulas as also by itself, okay? So that's our base foundation, so to speak, but we'll talk about all the reasons why we do use it, okay? All right, so this slide right here is a great, just a small sample of all the amazing things that dimethylglycine can do. And we have a few people here in the audience, and so I'm going to ask you guys here in a question. When we look at all these things, and there's no wrong answer, but what do you feel is the most important? Okay, so just going through it: improves oxygen utilization, methylation, we'll talk about that more in a moment, which helps with detoxification, boosting your immune, cardiovascular, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, which technically that is how DMG is classified by the Food and Drug Administration as an antioxidant, although what we know is that it's actually in every cell in our body. Every mammal on the planet makes DMG. Okay, so we all have it in our system, and 99% of us are very deficient in DMG, okay? But technically from a supplement standpoint, we have to classify it as an antioxidant, improves liver, helps with brain, neurological support, and the big C, anti-cancer, okay? So just curious, any thoughts on which one you feel is the most important? Again, there's no wrong answer. Yes. The oxygen. The Lyme disease. Yes. 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 Any other? Yeah. We can get you one. Yeah, for sure. We can get it for you. Or if you have your cell phone, you could take a picture of it right now as well. Okay? That would be the easiest and simplest. Yes, we also have this being recorded on the Facebook page as well as YouTube. So, again, if you have other people who can't make it today and you want to have them check it out, it's also being recorded. Okay? Yeah. But if you need, you can always take a picture if you need quick access to it too. Yes, question. Anti-inflammatory, okay. I know it's a tough one. They're all good. But if you, again, picking just one, if you had to just pick one, what do you think is the most important? The heart? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then finally, what do you think? Any anti-inflammatory? Yeah. So again, I feel the most important one is the first one, improving oxygen utilization. Okay. DMG, dimethylglycine, is one of the few natural substances that we can take orally that will actually increase oxygen into your cells. And all viruses, all of them, not making any claims, but all viruses, all bacteria, parasites, spirochetes, why it's fantastic for Lyme, which is why it's part of our Lyme protocol, and cancer cannot survive in an oxygen-rich environment. Okay, so when we are increasing oxygen into the cell, all these other things is like a domino effect. Okay, and we'll explain that here in a minute when we get into a little bit of the biochemistry of it, how this works. Okay, but that's what I feel is the most important. But again, it will help on all these other levels too. So really, really unique. And by the way, this does hundreds of other things. These are just some of the biggies with DMG. So let's talk about those here a little bit more in detail. Okay, so athletic performance. So one of the things it does, not only, again, you're able to run faster, you're able to recover quicker because it reduces lactic acid buildup. So when you're working out, again, which we always encourage people, right, you feel that burn, and then the next day you might be sore. Or if you haven't done it in a while, it lasts even longer. So it can really help reduce that lactic acid. You can get a couple more reps in, and then on the back end, which is really how you build muscle, improves muscle recovery. So yes, we have DMG by itself, but I wanted to give you an example of how we then take the DMG concept and then we add other ingredients. So one formula, if you're focusing on energy and cardiovascular benefits, endurance, and recovery, is Power Fuel. Okay, so this is a different formula, but if we take a look at it, it's a powdered drink. And actually, we have two flavors now, berry or lemon lime. Okay, but when we take a look at it, there's your DMG, right? Everybody see that? There's your DMG. Then it has your key minerals. It has D-ribose. It has other key nutrients. So again, we have the DMG as the foundation, but if your focus is on, if you have these type of endurance issues, energy issues, this is fantastic for energy. There's no caffeine in it, okay? So you do not get the crash and burn, okay? But but in particular, it's fantastic for two major conditions: fibromyalgia, 2 scoops a day, 1 in the morning, 1 at noon, okay? And post-heart surgery, okay? Because what happens when you have heart surgery, you're wiped out. When you get out of the hospital, very fatigued, difficult to walk up even a flight of steps. So this will actually strengthen your heart at the same time as give you the energy, 2 scoops. Usually it works within 1 bottle. Usually it works within 3 to 5 days is what I see clinically. Once you feel better, then we back it down to 1 scoop. okay? But just kind of giving you some additional ways and concepts that you maybe never thought about. Oh, I didn't know you could help me with this. I didn't know you could help me with that. Yes, we can. But again, DMG is a key component of this. Make sense? Okay. That's called Power Fuel. Power Fuel is the name of that. So I just pulled this off our website. So again, 2 flavors. Orange is listed, but we also have berry. It's a very light and refreshing drink. Okay, so I take it as a pre-workout myself. Again, gives you that energy without any of the caffeine. Okay, so that's one example. Let's get into a couple other ones. Cardiovascular. Okay, so you mentioned that is a big issue. DMG helps with cholesterol. Okay, helps with hypoxia. Helps with circulation, helps with blood pressure. That is a toxicity issue there, so that it can build up in your blood. So it's a detoxification as component of it. Okay? So, yes, DMG by itself will help, but again, we take it one step further, and so that would be a formula called CardioStack. So CardioStack, right, everything we just talked about. When we look at the ingredients, though, in it, it has L-carnitine, which is an amino acid, which is fantastic for your heart. There's the DMG, and then we also have CoQ10. So Ken takes the base foundation of DMG, then we add the other ingredients that makes it even better. So you can use this a couple different ways if you are having blood pressure issues, any type of heart issue, all right, AFib or anything like this, 4 a day. 4 capsules a day is what we would recommend. If you're taking this for prevention, okay, 2 a day. So if you have family heart history and you're concerned about it, again, 2 a day for prevention, 4 a day if you have any type of, any type of heart issue, okay? So that is obviously focusing there on the cardiovascular side. Okay, then it helps with your immune. Anybody concerned about their immune these days? Especially in the last couple of years. And again, what we found, the weaker your immune system is, the more susceptible you are to getting sick, obviously, right? So the stronger it is, the better it is. So DMG has been shown, and we'll have a graph, we'll get into this a little bit more in a minute, but it improves antibodies, usually your immune fighters, your B and T cell function, and it, use a fancy word here, modulates cytokine production, okay? Helps fight those with the natural killer cells, fights your immune issues that you're affecting by. It also helps with viral and bacterial infections. Viral. Interesting, right? So again, these are more clinical, but these are lab markers that doctors we work with, okay, look at, and we can say the same benefits with the supplement that, again, they are used to seeing from a drug with DMG. So again, let's take a look at what we did here. Okay, and so we took DMG, but we added many other really fantastic immune ingredients to it, and we call it Immunomax. Okay, so we have this in capsules or chewables. We're listing the chewable here. We have samples of it here, by the way, free samples for you to try, or if you prefer capsules. But let's take a look at this formula, okay? Because again, this time of year, this is absolutely what I recommend. I mean, our body is always fighting the battle against bacteria and viruses, but especially when we're in a cold and flu season, right? So I want to break these ingredients down so you have a little bit more, but there's the DMG is the second ingredient, but let's go back to the first ingredient. Has anybody here ever heard of this herb called Larix? Larix. No? Okay. You're not alone. You're not alone. 99.9% of doctors I work with have never heard of this either. Okay. Have you heard of echinacea? Yes, right? Echinacea has been used for thousands of years, right? So what we now know, in researchers and scientists have figured out a way to extract the immune properties or constituents from the echinacea plant, and it converts into what is called arabinogalactin. Okay, arabinogalactin. So again, that's a little tongue twister to say, but that is really the simplified version of it. It is the one way that we get it is from the echinacea plant, but the reason why we use Larix instead of the echinacea plant is Larix actually has more of these immune properties to it. Okay, so that's why we use Larix. So it kind of sounds like it's from a Dr. Seuss book, but just on this one ingredient alone, there's published medical studies on it. Reduces the chance of getting a cold 26% was one study I saw. I've seen numerous other ones. Okay, so by the way, we use this ingredient in one other formula besides Immunomax. We use it in our GI Complete formula. And why is that? Because the majority of your immune is in your stomach. Okay, so we use this very powerful immune enhancer for your stomach, right? So that's another way you can look at your immune health. If you're constantly getting sick and you have GI issues, that's one of the reasons why your immune is compromised in your stomach, and GI Complete should dramatically help. Okay, but let's go down to the very bottom ingredient in here, maitake. Okay, so maitake is a mushroom. We've known, again, anecdotally, mushrooms have helped for thousands of years, but we did the same thing as we did with the Larix and the echinacea plant. We now did it with the maitake, so we break it down. PD stands for partially defractionated form of the maitake. Okay, so nothing your body doesn't use from the mushroom, we're not using. We're only using the immune properties to it. And even if you are allergic or sensitive to mushrooms, you can still take this because we're not using that part of the mushroom with this formula. So totally safe. So again, this is where science now meets the herbology, again, of all thousands of years of with these plants and so forth. And just on this ingredient alone, there's hundreds of published medical studies, including many are for cancer with this one ingredient. Okay? So this is more than an immune formula. This has many benefits for cancer as well. Then we take a look at olive leaf. That's a very powerful antiviral. We take a look at beta-1,3-glucan. Again, increases, we could see, natural killer cells and macrophages. Again, those are your biggies. That's what eats away at the viral and bacterial issues. And of course, the cherry on top, DMG, dimethylglycine, which on its own will boost your immune. But when you combine it in a formula like this, it enhances it. Okay? And we'll talk about that more in a moment. But it has a methylating effect, which enables the absorption of the other ingredients you combine it with to make it work faster and more efficient in your system. Okay, so again, it just takes the DMG concept one step further. Now, we have it in a chewable. Now, the core ingredients, majority of them are exactly the same, but because it's a chewable tablet, we have more room, okay, than a capsule. So it has some additional vitamins in there. It has some elderberry fruit in there, has some astragalus in there as well, another powerful immune enhancer herb. So you can do either one, but we do recommend pick one, okay? It's really going to help you. Now, let's take, how would we dose this? So dosage is looking at depending on what we're using it for. So prevention is always the best medicine, right? So we recommend for adults over 100 pounds, 2 a day this time of year, okay? If you are going anywhere where there's going to be more people, if you're going to a concert, an athletic event, if you're flying that day, air travel, I would recommend 3 a day, that day, okay, just to give your body a little extra boost for your immune system because you're exposed to more people. With, again, the more people there is. Okay. By the way, I do recommend this in the summer too. 1 a day. Okay. So 1 or 2 is going to be your major, main dosages. Now, let's say you are coming down with a cold or flu. Okay. This is where we need to be more aggressive. This is where we want to supercharge your immune system. And so we get the best clinical results if you are coming down with something with a temporary, and that's the key word, temporary loading dose of 2 every 2 hours for 12 hours straight. Okay? 2 every 2 hours for 12 hours straight. Until you're 100% better. And we're not making any claims, of course, but we've had hundreds of practitioners who have tried this. I've tried it. I've done it personally. Thousands of people through the years have done this loading dose. And what I hear in the field is that if we catch a cold in the first stages, we usually can knock it out in 6 to 12 hours. So we don't have the cure for the common cold, but we can get pretty darn close. Okay? Right? If it's the flu, it's going to dramatically reduce the duration of the flu. Okay? So we would continue this until you're 100%, and then I would back it down to 3 a day until you finish the bottle, just in case there's any lingering issues, and then we go back down to 2 a day. Okay? So, again, that's how we look at that from a basic immune standpoint. Now, let's say you have active cancer. Okay? Active cancer. I mentioned several of these ingredients have tremendous research on them for cancer. But if cancer's again, if you have active cancer, this is one piece of a large puzzle, but we would recommend 6 a day. 6 a day if you have active cancer. Let's say you have cancer remission, right? We would recommend 3 a day if you had cancer. It's in remission to prevent the cancer from coming back or spreading elsewhere, okay? So, again, that is the other way they look at this is for cancer. Again, not making any claims, just look at the research. And again, it would be one piece of a large puzzle. We do encourage you to come in and talk with Jeff Nisnik or other healthcare practitioner that is knowledgeable with cancer as well. So again, that's how we look at this. So keep this in mind. By the way, I've been taking this every day for 13 years straight. Okay? So when people say, can you take this all the time? Absolutely. Okay? Nothing to be afraid of, folks. Yes?
If you're taking a multivitamin, this is vitamin C also, right?
Yes, this is not vitamin C. Okay? The question is, if I'm taking a multi, would I still take this? Absolutely. A multivitamin is a little bit of everything. It's basically filling in the gaps from your food from a vitamin and mineral standpoint. That's not what this is. There's no C. Well, there's a little C in the chewable. Okay, so there's a little bit, but really not enough. So again, just so you know, when we look at vitamin C, it's recommended 1 gram a day for prevention or 1,000 milligrams. And per chewable, this is 37 milligrams. Okay? So this does what vitamin C doesn't do. Is vitamin C great and helps you on the other levels? Yes, it does. It's just different as far as helping with your immune system. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? With me on that one? Okay. So that's on the immune side. Now, autism, seizures, neurological issues. Okay? DMG has research to help with autism. In fact, that's one of the original things that it's been known for since the 1970s is for its benefits with autism. Okay? We'll give you a couple slides here in a minute, some of the studies through the years that they've done with this. Okay, again, we're managing it. We're not talking about curing it. We're just talking about managing the situation, improving verbal communication, social interaction. So anybody on the autistic spectrum, this can be extremely helpful. Reduces seizures, helps with mental focus and acuity, right? So we took the DMG concept. Let's go back to this formula, Neuromax. So this is a liquid drink, okay? Kind of tastes like fruit punch cough syrup, so it's a little bit thicker taste and texture. As far as that goes, you can try it first by itself, but if you need to flavor it up, you can add it with the Pro Reds or any of the colors, or anything else that you can prefer, as long as it's good for you. But the Neuromax is fantastic for autism, fantastic for anybody on the spectrum, fantastic for ADD, ADHD, OCD, any of those neurological behaviors that are very, very challenging and difficult to control, that this formula could really be helpful for. Yes, question? Memory, it can help. We do have another formula more specific called Brain Boost. That's better for, that would be our number one, let's put it that way, for memory. And if, again, just basic memory issues, we recommend 3 a day. Okay. If it's more serious memory issues, we would double it to 6 a day. But 3 a day, usually most people feel within a few weeks, definitely within 1 bottle. Okay. There's another way you can use this too, though, just very interesting, and that is restless leg. Okay. Okay, because there are minerals in here, and we've had great clinical success with that one too. But majority of the time, we're talking on the brain side. Okay, so these type of issues, and again, a very unique form of folic acid we're using called quadrifolate. It's very challenging and difficult to make this in a liquid and keep it stabilized. And my understanding, we're the first company in the industry to be able to do that. Again, all absorbable forms of your vitamins there, your Bs especially, and your minerals. Again, very, very helpful there. So the way we would dose this, and again, it's on the label here, we can give this to 4 years old and up. It is safe. Okay? So if I'm working with a 4-year-old with ADD, I would recommend half a teaspoon in the morning and half a teaspoon at dinner time. Okay? Now, if they were older, 12 and up, I've simplified this program a little bit better. I just simply say take a tablespoon in the morning and a tablespoon at dinner. Okay? And we should see a difference very quickly, is what we hear and what we see out there in the field, again, and here at the practice. Okay? So, if you are working with or have a family member with autism or on the spectrum, we would start much slower. Okay, we'd be very slow and gradual. No matter what age they are, I would recommend just half a teaspoon in the morning for the first week. Okay, again, it can be very challenging trying to get autistic children to try supplements and take supplements. So again, we have to be very gradual. That's where we, slow and easy, right? Slow and steady, but just start with the smallest amount, and then over time, once they adjust to it, then we would start increasing the dosage. Okay, but these are the kind of questions you can ask me, but I just want to, I know not if you're listening out there on the internet. Okay, we just want you guys to be aware of how we would look at that for those kind of serious situations. Okay, but yes, autism, DMG. Okay, and then we look at arthritis and joint health. So anti-inflammatory. Some of you mentioned that's a really big, important issue with you. Of course, a lot of people in pain. So we took the DMG concept one step further with X-Flame. Okay, so X-Flame is for that type of acute pain and swelling and inflammation. All right, yes. So neuropathy would be a different formula. That formula is called neuropathies. neuropathies. Doesn't have DMG. It has a lot of other things in it that are really good for nerve issues, but it doesn't have the DMG in it. Okay? So neuropathies, by the way, since we're asking about that, we get the best clinical results starting with 6 a day. Temporary loading dose, 6 a day. And we'll know in one bottle if it's helping. If it's helping, then we back it down to 2 a day. Okay? But let's look what is in the X-Flame. Because again, when we first started out 14 years ago, again, we were kind of like the new kid in school, and everybody wants to beat you up and take your lunch money, right? It's some of the companies out there have been around a lot longer, right? So we were looking at for very unique and new ingredients that that you've never seen before with any other supplement companies. So we discovered this ingredient called creselazine. And 99% of people never heard of this ingredient. Why? Because it was introduced in the nutritional industry in 2008. 2008. It's a newcomer. But what it is, it's a combination of omega fats and a creatine that has been combined together in a very unique process that only they have the technology, or this or supplier has the technology and then patented it so no one else can duplicate it. And then they've done studies comparing it to a nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory, okay, where it showed the same benefit, if not or better, without any of the side effects. Okay, so really, really unique ingredient. And we actually did a little clinical here at the clinic before we actually took that on just that one ingredient. And then you combine it with DMG and turmeric and boswellia and quercetin and ginger. Okay, all those herbs have been used. A lot of companies use those, but nobody uses creselazine and DMG together. Nobody. So really, really unique formula. So if you're in pain, this on a scale 1 to 10, that's what I would first ask you, okay? Because what's painful for you might not be the same, right? So I want to define it by giving me a number. If your pain is 5 or higher, okay, we recommend a temporary loading dose. So with that one, we start with 4 capsules breakfast, 4 lunch, and 4 dinner. 12 a day. If we're going with the capsules. Okay? Once you feel the pain relief, and everybody's different, but most cases when we're doing this really aggressive temporary loading dose, most people start seeing results within 3 to 5 days. Then we back it down to 4 a day. 2 breakfast, 2 dinner. Okay? So this is why we have it listed this way, right? 4 caps 1 to 3 times a day, because, again, depending on how much pain you're in, you need to take more. So sometimes when I talk to people here and they said they're in pain, I said, do you try the X-Flame? Yeah. How many you take? 1? You took 1 cap? Yep. And I'm like, well, let's add 11 to it and let's see if you notice a difference. And as soon as I see them again, they give me a big hug and they say, you're right, I needed 12. So that's the key with this. You always want to think about that, right? Is this taking 12 forever for the rest of your life? No, it's just to, again, supercharge, reduce that pain inflammation. We need to be aggressive, and then we can back down. Yes? Space in the capsule. We run out of space. And so we use, typically we use, there's 3 different sizes in capsules. We use the middle size. What we find is if you do the larger size, it's hard for people to swallow that. So that's really where we run into limitations with the capsule, is the space allowed in the capsule. Okay? Now, you might say, well, I prefer powder or liquids, right? So we do have that option in the X-Flame. It's a powder. It is every single ingredient that the powder has in it. Okay, but with the powder, 1 scoop equals 4 capsules. So the temporary loading dose with the powder would be 3 scoops a day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. As soon as you start feeling better, then we back it down to 1 scoop. Okay? So that's how we look at this from a pain and inflammation side. And we would know in 1 bottle, give us 1 chance to see if we can help you. By the way, this really helps with a lot of other inflammatory issues. We've had cases where it helped with asthma and lung issues. Okay? We've had cases where this helps with mold issues as well. Okay? So really any inflammatory issue, you can think that this can help reducing that inflammation, which is pretty much every chronic disease. So this is one of our original formulas. It's one of the formulas that put us on the map, so to speak. It got us into a lot of practitioners' offices that we previously were not able to get into. Okay? So again, taking the DMG concept and then built the company from there. Yeah. Are you referring to Inflame? Yeah. So Inflame is a little different. Inflame does not have these 2 patented trademarked ingredients in it. Okay? That's the biggest difference. What I really see Inflame work best for is stress-related pain and inflammation. So think fibromyalgia. So we talked about the power fuel helping with fibro. Inflame also helps. Now, don't get me wrong. We've had many people who've taken Inflame and have had great results with it. It is also a vegetarian formula. So if you are a strict vegetarian and you prefer that, definitely. So again, we have lots of options, and that's why I would say give us 1 bottle. If this doesn't give you 100% benefit, then we're going to try a different option for you. But we'll keep finding something until it works, and most of the time this does work. Okay? Does everybody understand the X-Flame then a little bit more? Okay? All right, so let's move on then. Lupus, okay, on a lot of autoimmune issues. So again, looking at specific lab markers reduces these antibodies, helps with cytokine production, anti-inflammatory, and protects the kidneys, which a lot of the drugs does not. Very harsh on the kidneys and the liver. And then there's the big C, cancer. So anti-tumor activity prevents metastasis, prevents spreading, promotes apoptosis, right? So the big C with DMG, okay? And we'll show you here incredible couple slides here in a minute. Now, a lot of people say, well, how safe is it? Well, DMG is one of the safest supplements that you can take. It's been used now for over 35 years with both human and animal studies, no adverse events whatsoever. They've done studies at USC, they've done studies at Clemson, right? There's tons of research on this being completely safe, and technically technically anything can have an overdose. You can drink too much water and die from drinking too much water, right? But for an overdose of DMG, you would have to take 4,000 pills at once. Okay, so it's both physically and financially not going to happen. Okay, so again, very, very safe. Yes.
Okay, I have a relative that has lupus and she's on a lot of drugs, but I don't know what.
Yep.
Would that be safe?
Yes. Great question. Question was, as a family member with lupus, is this safe? Yes, it is. In fact, that is one of the beautiful things about DMG. You can take it with any medication, just an hour apart from the medication. It will not interfere with the medication. It'll actually complement the medication. And as their condition improves, working with their prescribing physician, hopefully they will need less and less, which is the ultimate goal. So it's fantastic for lupus. I can't emphasize that enough. There are tons of studies. Diabetes, yes, totally safe. Yep, any medication, it's going to help. Okay? So any medication. All right, so because DMG does so many different things, we're just going to focus with the time remaining on the biggies here that we touched on, but literally this will help with every chronic condition. Now, at this point, a lot of people say, well, how does this help on all these incredible things? Like, what's the deal here? So this is a little bit of the biochemistry, okay? So this is a simplified version of the methylation chart. This is happening in every cell in our body, again, in a trillionth of a second, every second of the day, okay? Or every cell in the body, okay? So there's over 1 trillion cells in the body. So, again, DMG is at the beginning of this whole process. Every mammal has this, okay? But then it goes through a series of conversions. So first it converts into sarcosine, then it pulls from the methyl donor, then into glycine, then into serine. Some of it converts into methionine, then into SAMe, then into ATP energy, and then into homocysteine. Some of it goes right into homocysteine, then into cysteine and into glutathione. But here's the key. Glutathione is your master antioxidant. DMG is one of the few substances that you can take that will increase glutathione levels orally, okay? Which again is why it has had a U.S. patent to boost your immune system, okay? Now, this again is happening so quickly, every cell in our body, that every single person on the planet is out of balance in one of these conversions. So let me just give you a couple quick examples. If you are a poor serine methylator, that typically we're talking about neurological. So that is linked to ADD, ADHD, autism, okay? You have trouble with that particular methylator, that serine methylator, okay? Homocysteine, cardiovascular marker. They do tests for this, lab tests, medical doctors, right? Again, if you have high homocysteine, DMG will help lower it, okay? So that's linked to heart disease and heart problems and potential heart attacks. Cysteine is for your liver. So when we look at the liver, you know, and another example, this is someone who drinks coffee. Okay, some people can drink coffee for dinner or after dinner, have no problem sleeping. Other people drink a cup of caffeine, cup of coffee, they're bouncing off the walls for 2 days. Okay, so that is an example of you are out of balance there. And then, of course, the glutathione there for your immune. So the important thing about DMG is that there's supplements for, of course, liver, and there's supplements for homocysteine, and SAMe is a supplement, but those are for further downstream. If you take DMG, it covers all of these things all at the same time, and it can help you with everything. And it's the only supplement out there, folks, that does this. There's nothing else like this, okay? And that's the beautiful thing about it. Now, I mentioned methylation is a fancy term for absorption, okay? So when we're taking DMG, it will help anything that you combine it with, make it more absorbable, which is why we're using it with these different formulas, okay? So always keep that in mind. Now, again, will not make any medication, will not interfere with any medication. It will make the medication enhance it. But methylation is the key, and so many people are very poor methylators, and DMG is one of the few things that can help. Does that make sense on why it does all these incredible different things? Now, if you don't believe me, anything that I just talked about, okay, we have this book, and this book is Dr. Roger Kendall. We have it here, okay? And it breaks it down in each chapter in detail. And whenever I'm working with a new practitioner, especially medical doctors who, you know, that's faced very skeptical about supplements and vitamins, right? And they always say, well, is there any research on DMG? So I always go back to the back of the book, and there's a whole, let's see here, on page 231. And I always say, Doc, do you want that alphabetical order or top 100? Right? And then they laugh, of course. But there's thousands of studies on DMG, folks, that 99% of doctors never heard of. Okay? So you are hearing more on this than most. Okay? So keep that in mind about it. But they can't say to us, oh, there's no studies. There's tons. There's no research. There's tons. So with the time remaining, I just wanted to focus on the patents. Now, patents typically have a 20-year life on them, unless you renew them. The supplier did not, but I wanted to show these patents. So we have to use them in past tense, okay? But these are some incredible patents that I've never seen before or since that a supplement can make. Okay, so let's look at this one. June 25th, 1991, treatment of arthritis and inflammation using DMG. Okay, so typically every other supplement has to have that disclaimer, may not prevent or treat or cure disease, right? With DMG, we can actually say it can treat arthritis and inflammation. Okay, only one. Now you might be saying, well, how is that possible? Because they had a battle with the Food and Drug Administration and they won. Took them millions of dollars in court, but they won, okay, to make these claims. So you better believe they have the research. It's reduced all these different inflammatory markers like prostaglandin 2 and interleukin 6. And these are lab markers that the doctors look for. It's reduced them all in animal studies. So again, combining this with, or now again moving forward with the X-Flame to reduce that inflammation, HA+, then helps rebuild cartilage for your knees, especially arthritis, and fish oil. Again, that's a great combination to help with people, okay? Then this is just another study that showed, again, an animal study, different before and after controls with arthritis in animals there. By the way, PERNA stands for our green lipid muscle. So if you have tendon, ligaments, strained, sprained shoulders, those kind of issues, green lipid muscle with DMG is a great 1-2 combination. Okay? All right. So again, reduces free radical damage, helps regulate immune response. There. Okay. Next patent, June 12, 2007. So a little bit more recent, but look at this one. Methods and composition for modulating immune response. So that's just a fancy way of saying boosting your immune. And for the treatment of all inflammatory disease. DMG can treat all inflammatory disease. No other supplement, folks, can make this claim. This is it, the only one. Okay, so very powerful. But this is looking at from an immune standpoint. So lymphocytes, T cells. The more you have, the better. Okay, they go around and fight against the bacteria and viruses. So this was a very interesting study. So yellow is before DMG, after is in blue. But we broke it down into 3 different subgroups. First 3 were normal. Second 3, sickle cell. Last 3 were diabetic. But you can see every single group, it didn't matter who they were, all increased lymphocytes. In fact, if you average this out, folks, in this study, it increased it by 400%, which there is no drug in the world that will actually increase your lymphocytes by 400%. So that's why we use it in the Immunomax. And this is why it can help with cancer. Okay? Seizures. Now you might say, well, I don't have any seizures, but you might have somebody in your family or friend or neighbor who does. So I wanted to show you this. Okay, so look at this study. First of all, it goes back to October 1982. That's in New England Journal of Medicine. Okay, this is one of the Holy Bible for medical doctors. This is what they look at. These are the studies that they look at and refer to when they're doing talks. So this group was averaging 17 seizures a week before DMG. They started taking it and look at the results. Within 2 weeks, went down to 3. 17 to 3 in 2 weeks. Okay? They maintained that. Then they stopped. The DMG came right back to where it was. They started again 2 weeks later, went right back down to 3. But at week 11, they increased the DMG. In this case, it went from 1 to 2. And again, it went down to 1. 1 seizure, averaging. At week 14, they stopped it. It did come back, but not as much as before. Okay? And then they started right back, and it came right back down, and for the next 20 weeks maintained. Okay, so I actually had another practitioner that I work with that had a case, a patient, a male who was averaging 80 seizures a month, 80. And I showed him this exact slide, and he had his patient try this, and taking 2 a day of the DMG, he went from 80 to 0 in 1 month. So if you know anybody with seizures, this will not interfere with the medication. It will only help. So I just want to pass this on to you. And doctors that I work with can't believe that it was actually published in New England Journal of Medicine. They just are not aware. And that's our job, to make you and make them aware. Okay? All right, last, autism. So I mentioned it goes a long history of it. Here's just a couple studies. 80% improvement taking DMG. Again, we now have the Neuromax, even better. Here's another study. Again, helps manage their social issues, contact, social interaction, and the biggie, sleep. So again, anybody you know with autism or on the spectrum, please pass this on to them. Here's another published study on the benefits of DMG with autism. Okay? So again, same thing. We see it over and over and over again. All right, last one. Patent, 1991. Treatment of melanoma, skin cancer, using DMG. Okay? So again, this is the only supplement I've ever studied in 30 years that had a U.S. patent to treat cancer with. And DMG was it. And again, skin cancer is one of the toughest cancers, right? But they're all tough. They're all bad. So again, we use this with all cancers. Again, one piece of a large puzzle. But you better believe you better have the studies if you're going to have a U.S. patent on it, right? So both in animal and cell culture studies has demonstrated to both prevent and reverse cancer. So here's a study where they put in mice, where they actually had a control group where they caused tumors. So they in chicken embryos, this was chicken embryos, where they caused the tumors to occur, and then you can see the difference there with DMG between the two different control groups. So you see the difference, how much the tumor shrunk, 60% reduction with the tumors in the chicken embryos. So it's one thing to see it on a bar graph, and you're like, oh yeah, that's great, but it's another to actually see the actual chicken embryos themselves. So this was the before, and you can see there in yellow, green, highlighting the tumors, okay, in the chicken embryos. This was 3 months later, taking DMG, 60% reduction in those tumors. Okay? So again, we want to emphasize it's one piece of a large puzzle, folks. It's not the only thing. We encourage you to come here or make an appointment with Jeff Nisnik, or again, if you feel more comfortable with another healthcare practitioner, but very knowledgeable about nutrition, and DMG is who you want to find there for you. Again, on that. But how do we break it down as far as the DMG itself? I think we mentioned that. We'll just make sure we covered that. Okay, so I wanted to just take one last thing before we wrap up here, is the dosage, taking DMG. So we're looking at just general guideline here, okay? General line, let me blow that up. Okay, so no health issues at all. Again, prevention is the best medicine, right? Anti-aging benefits there. 125 to 500 milligrams is the dose, okay? Which is one chewable or one dropper full of liquid. I'll go over that here in a second. If you have any other type of inflammatory issue here, okay, you see a wide range, but very simple, 2 a day of the chewable, 1 in the morning, 1 at noon. for any other type of inflammatory issue if you're taking DMG, except for cancer. Cancer minimum is 1,500. That would be 3 chewables a day. The third one by 3 p.m. Okay, you never want to take it after 3, okay, because for some it does give you energy, which is why we call ours Enter DMG. So we want to always take, the last time you take it is by 3 p.m. So let's bring this into reality, and this is also, dosage, by the way, is in the book. But here is the DMG text sheet. Okay, so again, we have the liquid right there featured, but we have it in the chewable. Okay, and they tastes like little cherry sweet tarts. We are sampling them. They are in the back today for you to try. Okay, but we typically do not get any issues. People really love them. But 1 a day is 500 milligrams. That's what I mentioned, right? 1 a day is for prevention. 2 a day for any type of pain inflammatory issue, 1 in the morning, 1 at noon. 3 a day for active cancer. Third one no later than 3 p.m. If the cancer is in remission, we back it down to 2 a day. Okay, so for most people, 2 a day, 1 or 2 a day is all you need. Okay, by the way, I've been taking DMG every day since I learned about it 13 years ago, maybe 14 years now, every day, 1 a day. Okay, so really, really important. We do have liquid. Who do we position the liquid for? Animals, and there's a whole chapter on cats, dogs, and horses. Again, totally safe. And for babies, infants, toddlers. Okay, we've even had cases with earache infections for toddlers where they put a drop or a little bit in the ear, and then they take it, and it dramatically helped with their ear infection as well. Okay, so either one, but the chewable is going to be stronger, so that's why we recommend the chewable there for you on it. Okay, but hopefully this has been helpful. Any questions, Phil, or from the audience? Yes? Veneers is a different issue. That's more of a structural situation, more than a nutritional deficiency. It could help. Are you meeting with Jeff at all on that? Have you ever met with Jeff? Yeah, I would try meeting with Jeff Nisnik with that. So veneers is the question. Would DMG help? It won't hurt. It definitely won't hurt. But I would. That's a much more complex situation in structural as well. I would meet with Jeff Nisnik and see, what he feels would be the best for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Question, tumor on the brain, right? So cancer, tumors, all that, again, right, tumors, yeah. But just generally speaking, right? So without knowing the case, generally recommend, yes, this may be able to help. We can't obviously make any commitments that it will, but it's definitely worth trying, okay? And again, come see me afterward, and I will recommend a few other things as well for that, okay? But DMG and Immunomax together would be at the top of the list for that, okay? Any other questions? Phil, any questions? No questions, okay. All right, so my time is up here, folks. Again, everything is on special. If you've never tried this, try it, okay? So can't encourage you enough, but we have the sample right in the back for you to give it a chance today, okay? And again, we have the books if you want to read more about it, the whole history of DMG. It's an incredible book, okay? But again, we always say DMG does me good, right? Does me good. So, all right, my time is up. I appreciate it. I'll be in the back to answer any other questions. Thank you so much, folks. God bless.